Hi, I'm Don, and this is The Hobbyist Geek. Welcome back, y'all. Today we are continuing and hopefully completing our Art Model Planisphere. Last time around, we got all of this done, and it is looking gorgeous. If you missed part one, this video is courtesy of a viewer suggestion. Big shout out to Lorelei Dubois 4084 for recommending this. This is a blast. This is a really fun piece. But how about we just get right back into it? All right, as a little refresher, the tools we are using: Eileen's Tacky Glue, Impressa wood lubricant, some 600 grit sandpaper, and of course tweezers, screwdrivers, and the like. All right, let's get some pieces out. All right, here are the pieces we'll need for the first assembly. We have C1, and if you take a real close look at these rectangular holes, you'll notice one is larger than the other two. That is a key item. Also, this little outcropping here helps you make sure that you've got this oriented just right. Same is true for this. This is B5. And on B5, we're going to throw in 3 of these. We got one A4. This is a thicker one. That's going to go in that larger hole there. The wide end going down into that larger hole. I actually found it easier to go up from the bottom, making it flush here. So that worked well for me. You have 2 A3s. These will go into the smaller holes, just like that. And now, they're all going to come up through these holes. Again, one is wider than the others, so make sure you've got it oriented just right. And it should all go right through. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular. All right, I'm going to keep the larger one pointed to the left just to help me with some orientation issues, okay? What we're going to do now is take this circular disc, is really what they call it, and it's got the screw base on the bottom, and that's going to go right here, and it should line up with these circular holes. And we have 3 of the 8mm screws right here to hold it in place. And there we go, look at that. Spectacular. All right. Now with that in place, we're going to start gluing some of these metal pieces on. We're going to start with this. This is H8. And that should go right here, just like this. So let's go ahead and get that glued in. All right, look at that. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. And while that is, we're gonna bring out H13, and that is going to go here. Notice there's this circular bit here, little circular hole, really helps with alignment. All right, should look a little something like that when you're done. Don't worry about the glue. Eileen's Tacky Glue dries clear. And now we have H2. That is a big boy. That is going to glue on here, and this little outcropping right there is going to match up with this outcropping. I believe, yep, I did not get all of this out. And as it turns out, this piece right here in the center is H19, so that's a completely separate piece. We're going to want to take all of that out. There we go. That's better. All right. So it should come on and basically line up just like this. So let me go ahead and get that in. All right, should look similar to this. Let's let it dry before we do anything else. All right, it's not fully dry yet. You can tell it's still a little white, but it is enough for our purposes so we can move forward. Next up, we're going to take B1. It's got a small hole in the center, and of course with the rectangular ones, they are different sizes to match our pins. So that's just going to slide right down there. Just like that. And we're going to take B4 and do exactly the same thing right on top. Just like that. And last but not least, we're going to bring out our wood lubricant here. And you're going to want to lube the entire outer perimeter. So let's get that lubed up. All right. Good rule of thumb when you're applying wax like this: never ever encountered a situation in which too much was even a thing. So don't worry about applying too much wax. You will not hurt the model. Too little and it may not work right. But for now, this assembly is complete and we can set it aside and move on to the next piece. All right, here are the pieces we need for the next segment. We have F1, and look at that beauty. We have H5, H9, I2, and H7, 4 of the 5mm diamonds, and 4 of these F6 pieces. Now, starting with H5, you're going to want to bend these long poles down, just like this. And notice that H5 here starts with the number 1. And it's also the only one that's got 3 big tabs right next to each other. And as it turns out, there's only one spot with 3 slots for those tabs. So you should be able to just slide it right in. Just like that. Now there's a hole here. I believe that's where a diamond is going to go. We'll find out in just a bit. Could be wrong. Maybe this is where the diamond goes. Not sure. We'll find out. But for now, there is a hole there. It should line up with a hole that goes all the way through. So let's do a little glue, and then we'll bend these tabs down to secure it as well. And then you can continue going around, and the numbers are going to go in order. So if you mix up which piece is which, it'll be really easy to determine because all of the numbers will go in order as you go around. And there we go. 1 done, 3 to go, exactly the same way. All right, look at that. That looks gorgeous. All right, time to get these diamonds in, so it's important I figure out where they go. And yeah, it does actually look like they're going to go into these holes. So if you look, you've effectively got two different star patterns here. You've got ones with these big rectangular holes and ones surrounded by two dots and a circular hole at the bottom. There are 4 of each, and these diamonds are going to go into that circular hole at the bottom of those 4, just like that. So a little glue, we'll get them all in place. All right, should look a little like that when you're done. And now we're going to finish it off with these F6 pieces. And these are all going to go on these outer edge holes. So we'll just slot them all in. And that should be it for this assembly, at least for now. All right, there we go. That is what they will look like. And this assembly is now complete. We'll set it aside to let the glue dry, and we can start on the next piece. Actually, before we do, I was reviewing what we've done so far, and I realized I missed something. This little hole right here on this assembly, it also gets a diamond, one of the little 4mm diamonds. So let's go ahead and make sure we get that in place too. Just like that. Very, very nice. All right, now that we have corrected that little error, we can move on. Alrighty, y'all, here are the parts we'll need for this next section. We're gonna take D1 here, and if you notice, of the 4 spokes, only one has this bit of outcropping and design. We've got H18. It's this beautiful piece, and you'll notice it has a big hole here. Well, guess what? That's gonna line up with that big hole. So it's gonna basically glue on. My fingers just stopped working all of a sudden. But it's gonna glue on right about here, lining up with that hole. And in that hole, we got another 4mm diamond to make it sparkle just a bit. So let's go ahead and get those glued in. All right, a little something like that. When it's done, glue will dry clear and it will be nice and pretty. And now we get to the truly fun and magical part. The part we've all been waiting for. What you're going to do is you're going to take part E4 here. Now what they want you to do, and I'm not going to do this right now, is take, what part is this? I4. This is I4. They want you to glue it so that this giant gap right here is on all around these little holes there, and that the center hole lines up. Okay? Sounds easy, doesn't it? Except that it's not. So, not wanting to interfere with what's in there, we're going to put that in first, and then we'll glue this in. For that, you're going to want to take this. And this is H14. Now you can do this before or after, but you also want one of your sky blue beads. And you see that little break right there? You're going to want to bend it just enough so that you can slide both sides into this bead. So let's see if I can make that happen. There we go. That ended up being much harder than I thought it was going to be. But it's in. So that looks wonderful. Now we're going to come down here at the base, and there are little fold points here, and we're going to bend these backwards by about 90 degrees. All right, should look kind of like that, and that should, in theory, slide into these slots. There we go, just like that. Now it's not going to stick around, so you will have to glue that in place. Now, once that's been glued in place, then we'll take this piece and we'll just slide it around that assembly and push it until it lines up with that hole, about like that. We'll glue this in place too. All right, so let me go ahead and get those things done. All right, should look a little like that when you're done. Now, what you'll want to do is right where the ring meets the post here, you're going to want to angle it back just a little bit. Maybe 45 degrees, maybe. There we go, about like that. You can adjust if needed, of course. And I try to keep the post stable while you're doing this. All right. Now you're going to take your 50 millimeter iron rod here. You're going to put on one of the little white spacers here. So let's get that on. And now you're going to take your wine red bead. And you're going to put that on top and basically push it down so that the pole matches right at the lip and it's nice and flush. Then you'll take your other white spacer. You'll push this in just a bit. And here's where the fun comes in. You're going to want to get the pole down through that center hole and then just kind of push it enough so that the marble is lined up with the ring. Okay, about like that, give or take. Here's where the fun really begins. You got to wax the entire bottom of this. Normally, I would say you have to wax in the spokes as well. Obviously, you don't want to wax the top. But waxing in the spokes is specifically not designated in the instructions, and this is kind of one of the central pieces to this display, and I don't want to mess that up. So I'm going to follow the instructions for now and just wax the bottom, and we'll go from there. All right, with your wax in place, and I mean obviously this stuff is, the glue is still drying, you'll bring this out and the post on the bottom is going to go through that center hole, just like that. We'll come onto the bottom and fix it in with this yellow spacer. There we go. Should look a little something like that. When you're done, of course, the marble is not affixed in any way. And it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little glue in there to hold that in place too. And if you want, you can put a little glue on the little sky blue marble as well. All right. And at this point, it's really just a matter of letting all the glue dry and going from there. And of course, make sure that this does turn. And it does turn pretty smooth actually. So we're good there. I will say it does feel a little bit tight. If that's the case, you can loosen up, these spacers if you need to. But it does, it turns well. Cool. All right, for this next one, theoretically, this will be fairly easy. We'll see. If you take a close look, you'll see there are two very tiny holes on either side of the central hole. This is E2. You've got H19. And again, there are two very tiny holes on either side of the central hole. And you've got H15 here with these two pegs at the bottom. So those two pegs are supposed to go through these two holes first and then into the two holes on E2. And you're going to have to glue the whole assembly down. And look at that. All right. Then you glue the whole assembly down onto this. And make sure those pegs go into those holes. And you should be good. So, gonna get a little glue on here. Make that happen. Perfect, just like that. As it turns out, those little pegs do come out the bottom here, so you can bend them to one side or the other to get it nice and flat and help keep things in place. All right, look at that. Now, you're going to take two of these B8 pieces, and you've got B2 right here, and the long end will be flush with these long holes here. So it should look like that when you're done, and these two pegs will go into those two holes. All right, that's actually pretty hard. Also, only one real way to do it so that all of these spokes align. And it is critically important that they align. All right. Next up, you got to make sure that this is entirely waxed on the bottom again. And we're going to do the same thing with the 30 millimeter shaft and the white bead. But this time you only need one white spacer for the top, because this is basically going to go all the way down and rest right on the top there. So I'll get that in, and yes, you can glue the bead, and we'll use the gold spacer on the bottom to hold it all in place. So it should look a bit like that with the gold spacer on the bottom when you are done. So let me go ahead and get some glue on here, and I'll be right back. Oops, almost forgot. You really do kind of need to put it onto here before you put the gold spacer on. It's actually going to go here. If this is where the little gold arrow is, this one's going to go here, and make sure that those spokes all line up. And the post is going to go into that hole right there. Just like that. Okay? And of course you'll want to test it and make sure that it spins. Mine does. Quite smooth, I might add. So let me go ahead and finish this thing off. All right, there we go. Fully assembled. Gears turning quite smooth. You can see our little pins and the yellow spacers here on the bottom. This is actually quite nice. I like this. All right. Moving on. Okay, this next section is going to be really hard to get right. You've got this, which is E3. And if you look, you'll notice there are two little holes here and two little holes here. Okay? Now the objective is to get this piece, which is I3, on here so that these two little holes right here are going to go inside one of the larger spokes like that. But what about these holes, you might ask? Well, as it turns out, at one spot, and it is almost imperceptible, right about here. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can get a good picture. You can see these little notches cut out here and here. Well, that is supposed to line up with these two holes here so that you can fit this, which is no, that's not H10, H16. The two posts on H16 are supposed to go in there. And of course, you've got to glue it all down. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm basically going to try to line up H16 with I3 here and get it on. It's going to have to be glued in, of course, so it's going to take some doing. And then I'll kind of reorganize this so that these two holes line up and the center hole lines up appropriately. So it's just real finicky work. If you want, before you get started with this, you can, and you're supposed to, bend this out, this little centerpiece here, bend it out a bit, just a little bit. And you've got another one of those sky blue beads that will go on there, and you fold it back. So it should look a bit like that when you're done. And now, let's see if we can work some magic to get it working here. So a little something like that. And we're going to have to let this dry a bit before we can really move on. Alright, fingers crossed this has dried enough to allow us to continue. We're going to take, what is this? This is H10 here. And that's going to go in those two remaining holes. And like before, you're going to want to angle this puppy back about 45 degrees or so. And we'll get that in there. Just like that. Make sure to secure it at the bottom. Okay, beautiful. Then we're going to take E3 and two more of these B8s, and we're going to attach it to this the same way. Again, make sure the spokes align. All right. Now, this is going to have to go onto this assembly, into this hole right here, the exact same way our centerpiece did, this time with the 40mm post, two white spacers, one yellow spacer, and our sapphire blue bead. So let me go ahead and get all of that in place too. Don't forget to wax the bottom of the gear. All right, look at that. That looks spectacular. Let's see what's next. All right, this next part's going to be kind of interesting. Basically, what you're going to want to do is you take this assembly. Remember, we got the 3 pegs, 2 different sizes. And this assembly, you can see the 3 holes right there. Again, different sizes, so you got to make sure it's lined up properly. And you want this kind of overlapping them. So let's see if we can't make that happen. Or I should say sandwiched in between, not overlapping. Wonder of wonders, I actually got it to work. Nice. Okay. Now, we're going to take this, we're going to attach it to here. What you're going to want to do, you got this post right here, that's going to go on the screw here from the music box, and it's going to turn counterclockwise to tighten. You've also got these 4 holes here, that will line up with the 4 higher pegs on the piece. So what you'll want to do is line this up so that you've got that little blue ball there facing you, and line this up so that this diamond snug between 14 and 15 is also facing you. That's how that's going to line up. And all of those holes should line up all around. It's really a matter of tighten this centerpiece, then push down on those, then tighten the centerpiece a little more, and so on and so forth until it's in nice and snug. Crap. I knew I forgot something. Now I'm going to have to take this all apart. Gotta get this wax ring around the music box spike first. Then you put all this in. But when you're done, it should look a little something like this. Let me go ahead and fix this. I'll be right back. All right, and this is what you should get when that part is complete. Very nice. I think we're almost done here. Let's see what's next. All right, I'm sorry, y'all. I am just not having much luck with this piece here. There's another set of instructions that I kind of missed. And they're hidden and very hard, but it's basically with this H6 piece right here. And before you assemble everything, you're supposed to put it on here. Right here, you've got these 3 little holes. That is where these 3 tabs here are supposed to go. So you're supposed to bend these up about 90 degrees, kind of like that on the back side. And then we will put them in here from the underside. Looks like that, so they come out and it's nice and flush. And we'll bend these tabs down to hold it in place. And then bend these up. I'll show you what I mean. Much like that. So yeah, I just completely missed that. I can offer nothing but my apologies. So let me get this back together and we'll continue on. All right. Now we've got it all set the way it's supposed to. This is the difficult part of the piece. All right, let's get the rest of it out. All right, next up, we have E1 here. And E1 is going to have 4 little things. If you take a look, there are 3 large slots and 1 small slot. 3 B12s with the large tabs and 1 B9 with a small tab. So we'll just push those in all the way around. Alright, should look a little like that when you're done. And now we're going to bring out H1. It's this thing, and if you notice, there are 4 stars with these big holes and 4 holes. So you're effectively going to line this up around those holes, and you've got the 4mm diamonds that will go in the holes and hopefully hold everything in place. So let me go ahead and do that. We're going to have to glue it. And it should look a bit like that when you're done. And we will bring this back out. And you got a small hole here and 3 large holes all around. So just line it up properly and push this puppy in, and make sure that the gears on these internal ones match with what you got outside. Look at this! It's actually working! That's gorgeous. Now, these little stands here, I found it easier to put them into this base and then put the ring on top instead of putting them in first like the instructions say. So you may want to consider doing that. But we are almost done here. Okay, a little more prep before we get to the final stage. These rhombic glass rhinestones, there's a large one that we'll have to glue on here, a small one that'll glue on here, and another 4mm diamond that will glue right there. This is H12. That is the large rhinestone. That is the small rhinestone. And at this point you should know what these little 4mm diamonds look like. Now, once all of that is in, the real hard part begins. On this little thing here that we just installed not that long ago, there are 2 tabs in front and 1 in back. Those will go into these 2 holes right here, and then there's 1 more right here. And right here at this join point, you're going to want to bend this down at an angle. So it kind of looks like a shooting star kind of thing. So let me go ahead and get this glued together, and let's see what the final product looks like with that. All right, so that right there is what this should look like once you've got your pieces added. Now before I do any more manipulation, I'm going to give this thing some time to dry. Okay, here's hoping this stuff has dried sufficiently to do what we need to do. We're going to bend this down just a bit. Yeah, about like that. About that angle there, give or take. And now we're going to try and slide those tabs into those slots. And you can fold or give them a nice little quarter twist to hold it in place. Let's see if I can do this. There you go. Should look like that. Let's wind her up and give her another test run. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular. Only one step left. That's right. The gloves are out because we're putting on our dome. No glue or anything. You do want to be able to get in there if needed. I suppose you can glue it if you want to make this permanent, but it should just slide right in, just like that. And there you have it. Awesome. All right, let's set up for the final shots. And there it is, y'all. The Art Model or Model Planisphere. Fully assembled and honestly looking pretty good. Not too bad a product. The instructions were iffy. Got kind of difficult there at the end. But in the end, you can't argue with the final product here. It's actually fully functional and really, really beautiful. I do like it. I think the dome might be a little big though for this product, but that's okay. Makes for a good nightlight, little music box, and a mesmerizing display. What do you guys think? Did you enjoy the series? Do you like the product? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's all I got for today. If you liked it, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.